sorry. Counselor, I'm sorry, Counselor, who got it first? Maybe
Second. I had Jones.
seconded by Joan.
No, I moved by Jones.
Well, moved by Joan, seconded by Counselor O'Neill.
Thank you.
Next one, moving right along, we're moving into 9-1, which is a source water protection, groundwater modular study. And it's PW 2025, source water protection, groundwater modern project, 10th of June, 2025. So I believe we have a couple gentlemen here. Do you want to come to the front and talk to us, Stefan, and Adam, you're welcome to come too if you like. Morning, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, Stefan.
Perfect. So this is a request to award to Aqua Insight. For you, Mr. Mayor, this is a request to award Aqua Insight the value of $69,495 for our source water protection, which is a required process for the. Is that better? Bit better? Yeah. Which is for the source water protection.
I'm not sure. Can you introduce your?
Yes, I can. On my left, I have Tony. I'm going to Guerrera. And on my right, I have, Adam with Lakefront Utility Services.
Tony, I'm not sure, who do you represent?
I'm with Greer Mountain, so we've been helping the design for the implementation of your new well and upgrades.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for coming.
No problem.
Yes. Was there any questions the council may have?
Do you want to go through the report real quick? Who prepared the report? I know I'm talking about the drinking water source report.
Oh, I believe that would be a separate report, right, Mr. Mann?
Pardon me?
The source water.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the annual summary report or the source water protection report?
No, I'm talking about the first one, which I believe was source water
Project.
Yeah.
Just in short summary, this is a source water protection report. It's a process in order to look at the wellhead protection area of the new well in a very concise manner. It is to observe of any possible contaminants or other sources that could possibly be adverse to the drinking water supply. So what it does is there's certain zones and it observes the aquifers which would feed into the well where we would draw the water from. And it's a process in which they would look for any possible sources of contamination.
Yeah, just to add to that, because the original water ministry who completed that, Adam, it was done quite some time ago. But because you had two wells, one of them wasn't producing good water, so we added. That was this project. We added a third well, and that's the one that's going to be connected to the water plant. And the original well number one is going to be disconnected from the water plant. So you're going to have two viable sources. But that changes. So there's this kind of area of influence above, well, in this case, to the north of the wells that they've done some, these companies do some sort of modeling and they interpret how the groundwater is feeding into your well. And then they delineate an area that could interfere with the well as Stefan mentioned. And because we put a new well in, it's going to shift that area of influence over slightly. It's pretty, it's not a significant amount that is going to change. However, the ministry and the source water protection group requires you to update your source water protection study. And that is the cost that's being presented there. There's specialty firms to do that. And they need to update your source water protection study. Otherwise, the ministry won't give you the approval to use your new well.
Thank
So
you.
when you create a new well, it triggers that you need to update your drinking water works permit. To cover the new well. When that happens, it also triggers a review of your source water protection. So this works, since you're slightly changing the catchment area, it's still technically a change with the new well. It triggers the requirement for the Conservation Authority and the ministry to review the source water protection plan for your new drinking water works permit. So you end up being stuck, even though it's a very small change, a matter of meters. You end up being stuck doing this work that is, we've got a price of $69,000 for, to provide that updated hydrogeological review to the Conservation Authority to proceed with your updated license. If you don't proceed with the work, you won't grant a license, you won't be able to utilize or hook up your new well.
Pretty simple. It's unfortunate though, because, there isn't that much of a change, but I guess a change is a change is a change, and I wouldn't want to be responsible for not doing one.
We tried to let prevail with regulators
Okay,
and the regulation prevailed.
okay. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Lobo, and I guess to you, Mayor Lobo, as well. This is a necessary report, a necessary project that needs to get done. Is there any way that any of the new subdivisions coming in would tap into any of this, I guess, a user fee for anything to do with our, all these fees that we're having to put out? Is this something that would be available to us to pass on to the developers? I don't expect an
I
answer,
can't
but
answer that question. Is that covered in development charges?
I don't know.
Mayor, typically development charges are levied for new growth. Since this is the replacement of an existing well that is not producing water quality, I'm not sure that your development charge structure within any municipality would capture replacement of an existing asset. They're strictly looking usually for development charges being levied to facilitate expansion. So although I don't know your specific development charge structure, I find it highly likely that it would be in that direction. Still, this process will likely be applicable through your ICIP grant for redemption.
I just have one more follow-up. As well, one of the areas with all this that is being put in place, any contaminants coming in, is there an alarm system set up that it would catch anything coming from the east, say? And I'm just wondering what the diameter.
I really wish Mr. Heitkamp was here today. He's your hydrogeologist. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He operates 11 monitoring wells surrounding the production wells in a 360-degree basis that alert you for a variety of monitoring. If you recall, we discovered BTEX appeared in one monitoring well between the MRF and the production wells some time ago, and then that disappeared. But Mr. Heitkamp and his organization conduct ongoing monitoring well sampling to make sure that there is no infiltration. But the study that you're going to see largely shows that the catchment area of your existing production wells comes from the area under and north of Cranberry Lake. So the ability to have that contaminated is likely very, very small for you. So the risks are very low. I think one property was identified as being perhaps a concern. But in terms of what happens east, west, or south of your production wells, unless it's a very, very close risk, it most likely won't apply to your production wells for contamination.
Thank you, Mayor Lobo.
Yeah, just, I'm sure you can't see what I hold, but if that was in your package, that's sort of, okay, it's just, those are the two little wells down there, that's Cranberry Lake, and then this zone of influence goes directly north. And, yeah, so they, as Adam mentioned, they identify properties within that zone of influence that might have an impact, and then they try and limit how things are stored and that kind of thing, try and protect that area. And unfortunately, like, we're only moving, as Adam mentioned, we're really only moving this well a little bit. Like, this whole thing's gonna shift. You wouldn't look at the two pictures and know the difference. That, you'll have to be.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, if you could take that to page 12, I have a question on page 12. And it deals with DNAPL, and I have no idea what DNAPL means, but it's the yellow. It's,
This is the acronym. So this is denatured alcohol petroleum and lubricants. Is that okay? It's essentially it's oil-based and alcohol-based stuff that readily disperses within it's filled and it travels pick up, it wicks through soil. So it is identified. So it's one of those.
and that's on a specific property area.
Yeah, so if you identify something as simple as abandoned vehicles that may or may not take away.
Okay.
Yeah, well, storage.
Okay. I'm not suspicious of anything else. I'm just curious to see what that stood for. And it is very close to the wells themselves, so.
Yeah, the item is fairly far north, to be honest, but it's identified as there's MLS. So one property that's very, very close to, what is it called? Cranberry Lake Road.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if anyone asks you on Jeopardy what that acronym stands for, the future is fair.
Thank you. Anybody else have any, Deputy Mayor, you have one more?
An acronym, and I tried to find out what NECP was. I Googled it and came up with 3 other things, and I just wondered what it was.
Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks.
Oh,
It's the brand new.
it did come up with that, but
This week it's water and camping next week.
Well, you
Thank
gotta
you.
stay up for, you gotta keep us aware for Jeopardy. We're gonna know what it is. Go ahead, and Councilor O'Neill.
Yes, so thank you for coming here today. My question is a broader question about the OPP grant and what other, because this is important, we get this passed to stay in compliance. And that original point was from October. Anyway, what should we be expecting coming next for us and when? And what does council need to do to make sure that we are in compliance with the OPP grant?
You approved this study. We spoke to the ministry and the conservation authority for water protection people. It's gonna take about 90 days for them to have to advance to the point where if we go ahead, the ministry give us the go ahead to build the water plant. The plant itself, the designs have been completed, or the design's been completed. You've got a new well, it's been tested, it's a good well, good supply, good quality. Design's done, tender's ready to go. We can't get the actual approval to connect it until that study is advanced again, about 90 days. So what I'd recommend is that we go ahead and tender the project. So I'm looking for approval from you at this meeting if possible to proceed with the tender. And we'll tender with the caveat that its award is contingent upon approval, ministry approval. So you don't have to award it right away, but I'd like to get that moving. It takes usually about 30 days to close the tender. We usually advertise it for about 21 days, and then somebody always asks for an extension. So it ends up being a 4-week process. So that would, if we tender now, that would put us into July by the time it closed, and then we could get your recommendation of award, and that's right on that. So, and I'm not sure exactly what the process is, but I think you might be able to, again, kind of prove it initially. In the meantime, we'll work through with the ministry and try and get them to approve that sooner. I guess that's going to happen just from the last few conversations we have. But at least we'll be in a position then to award the tender right away when we do get the approval. So I'm hoping we can report that by it's that date now. It's not really a lot of time. You water plant in the longest site. Water. And all that stuff. So, I can work on it. So I think it's not a long duration contract, and I still think it can be done by the end of this year. But I guess the key point right now is we need to get that approved, so that we can forward with that.
Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
Thank you for that answer. A follow-up question, and it's going to be to our staff. Do we need to have a second motion or recommendation come forward today to allow for that tender, or is that already covered and he can go ahead with the tender because it's part of the well project that we previously approved?
That's a good question, Counselor. I would have to look into the specifics there to give a proper answer.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
Would there be any problem then with us going ahead and making the tender, even if it is redundant and not necessary? But I would rather it be there and allow Greer Galloway to proceed rather than bringing it back later.
So assuming procedurally it follows everything, I could bring another report forward to allow, I believe, conditional approval of the tender. So everything is set in place. And once we have the MEC, once we receive the report from the MECP, everything's done. We get their approval that we would have everything lined up to go ahead and proceed.
And how long will that delay us, or will it delay us?
I would say that normally we would, get approval from staff to tender,
Yeah.
and then the award would be approved by council. So
Okay,
I think we're okay to tender if everybody's in agreement. I don't know that I need to, maybe I asked that incorrect. Probably don't need a motion to tender it, that you'll need to make a motion to approve it once it's complete, but really I just want to get the ball rolling on the tender process. And we didn't want to start that until this got approved. That's sort of the proper order.
so basically, if I understand you correctly, you would like to issue tenders based on and awarding them based on the approval of the MEC or the ABC or the Lower Trent or whoever else. Whoever else has to be involved. Yeah. And will our well, we can add that to the motion, can we not? That I don't see where it says, just that it's understood that, the tender is based on approval of the MECP or whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
So assuming received approval today, what I was, once I received the approval to go ahead with this, source water protection, I was gonna bring forward another report to permit conditional approval, and that was the process that we were gonna proceed with.
And you're gonna do that today? Okay, okay. All right. That might be the next one we're talking about. Oh. Well, that's fine. Okay, so we have a mover and a second? No, we haven't yet. Anybody have any further questions to Tony or Adam or staff? Seeing none, I'll read the motion then, and then we'll debate. The council received report PW 2028 source water protection groundwater modular study for information that the study be authorized to award the contract for the source water protection groundwater modular study to Aqua Insight at a value of $69,495 plus HST, and that a bylaw be brought forward for council consideration to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with Aqua Insight for completion of the source water protection groundwater modular study. Mover and a second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Okay, 9.2, Grafton well project update and construction schedule. Okay, go ahead, Stefan.
Perfect. So this was just a report brought forward to just give council and yourself, Mr. Mayor, an update on the current well project. I'll pass it over to Tony here. He might be repeating himself.
Give you a longer update. Yeah, my fault. I got tripped up before. So as I mentioned, you drilled a new well, replaced well number 1, which had high levels of ammonia, not normally used as a production well. So you need to have 2 good wells, like a duty and a standby. Currently, your well number 1 wasn't suitable as a standby. So we've drilled there has been a new well drilled, good water, good flow, good quality, and that was tested, and the testing was completed in 2024. The design, our testing reporting, the design's been completed. New well piping, new water main, road upgrades from the well to the water plant, fencing for the new well, security cameras, new flow control valve inside of the plant, new variable speed frequency drives to control the motors on your 2 well pumps. Construction cost estimates approximately $1 million, including a 10% contingency, not including HST. To date, your costs have been approximately $245,000 to the well driller, and as part of the well driller. For the well testing, hydrogen investigation and design to Greer Galloway, $144,000. That's as per the contract we signed with you a couple of years ago. Project management costs, there have been some costs, I believe, to Bruce and Grant Parkinson. So I'm not sure what those fees are, but there have been some fees there. MEC review fees have been about $5,000. So you're about $35,000 or 35% complete. I'm not sure what your overall grant is, but Adam, do you happen to remember that? I think it's quite a bit. Yeah, Karen Sullivan.
I was gonna say about 1.4, but I can't recall now
Okay.
exactly, so.
So I think you're in good shape to, come in within the budget. We'll know more when we get things tendered. Yeah, so the storage water protection study's gotta be completed, which you just approved. And, that process sometimes takes quite a while, but in this case, because of the very small impact to the source water protection area, the storage water protection group feels they can streamline the process. But still thinks it'll take about 90 days. So I recommend that we tender the project now with the condition of the tender stipulates the contract award by council is subject to approval of the proposed works by the MECP. So that'll just be something I add into contract language. You don't have to do anything about that now. And then as things move forward, I hope the timing lines up. If it doesn't really line up, we may try and we could consider given like awarding the contract prior to the ministry giving us approval. They wouldn't be able to start construction, but that would allow them to order stuff like a well pump, frequency drives, and get prepared to construct. I don't normally recommend that. Because it's a risk if the ministry doesn't approve your project. I think there's no scenario where the ministry does not, like, I don't think that can happen. The ministry's gonna approve your project. It's very simple. All the testing's been done, and I'm not asking for anything like that now. It's just a future step if things really go, if this source water protection committee or work takes far too long. But I do believe things are gonna line up fairly well, and I would like to tender this project.
Questions or comments from council? Thank you, Tony.
Look forward to the completion. Thank you.
I'll read the resolution. That council received report PW 202509 Grafton Well Project Update and Construction Schedule for information. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. And I guess my only comment would be I would prefer that we get this up and not be going too far ahead without approval, because it's just not right to do if you can avoid it at all costs. But if you have to do that, let us know. And we'll consider it. All in favor? Motion is carried. I think you're done, fellas. Thank you, Tony. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Adam, thank you as always. Stefan, you're doing great. So keep doing it. Next, we're moving on to administrative reports. And the first one is 12-1 regarding council training conference request from Greg Booth to attend the Ontario East Municipal Conference in Ottawa, September 17th to 19th. And the resolution reads that the council Booth be approved to attend the Ontario East Municipal Conference OEMC in Ottawa from September 17th to 19th, funded from the 2025 council training budget as per bylaw 062025. Mover and a second. Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. The next one, bylaws. 13.1 is our first bylaw. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alma-Calderman enact as follows: that bylaw number 47-2025 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with Gerald Finley Construction Limited for the 2025 gravel supply be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of June 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, second by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Yeah. The next one is bylaw 48-2025, and that is to an execute agreement with Aqua Insight regarding source water protection groundwater modular study. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Ellenwood enact as follows. That bylaw number 482025 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with Accu Insight for the source water protection groundwater modular study be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passes 10th day of June 2025. Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have bylaw 492025, and that is to execute an agreement with P. McLaren, Patrick, I think it is. With Patrick for lease of the Burnley pit lands. And the prepared resolution reads that bylaw 492025 being a bylaw to execute an agreement with P. McLaren for the lease of the Burnley pit lands be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passes 10th day of June 2025. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Next we have correspondence. And we have 4 items, I believe. So the resolution reads that these 4, and I'll read them off. The Ontario Health Team Northumberland Physician Recruitment, the MMAH letter 2025-2024, municipal notification letter, and another one from Mattawa, opposition to the strong mayor's powers, and Northumberland County Food Policy Council, Bill 5, opposition to statement. So as prepared, the agenda asks that we receive for information. So if you want to talk about anything more than that, we'll do that after, but we'll first receive them for information. All mover and seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Are there any ones you want us to talk about specifically? Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I'd like to talk about the letter from the OHCN. So, I'm going to start with my position as being on the physician recruitment board. So there's been a lot happened since we had Linda and Randy here in September. As you will recall, we were talking about moving towards a more coordinated way of physician recruitment. And that process was being led by Toronto Metropolitan University. So there'd been a number of meetings and we were one of the stakeholder groups. The other stakeholder groups involved were from the Brighton, from Trent Hills, and from Northumberland Health Hospital, and the county was there as well. So there were quite a few people around the table. And in the end, their recommendation was to do physician recruitment through the OHCN, so the primary care model. So there were 3 models brought forward that day, which was through acute care, which would have been through the hospital, through primary care, which would be the OHP, and then the last was to do it through an outside agency. So that was the process that was endorsed by the Physician Recruitment Board that we are part of, and that we were part of the group that unanimously voted for that. Since that point, which I thought we were all moving in the same direction at the same speed, it came before County Council with a motion from the floor, and County Council, in its wisdom, decided that they would take over physician recruitment rather than leaving it as recommended with the OHCN. Anyway, that is where it's sitting now, is that the recruitment will be done through the county. The OHCN is hoping to still work with the county and make this a success. It does at the end say, or in the letter that's in front of us, an offer for Andrea Groff, who is she the executive director? I'm not sure what her title is with the OHCN, and Dr. Fraser Cameron to come and present to us. I think it would be worthwhile. There's a lot happening on this file from the province in terms of primary care. And I know I already shared with you guys that book from Jane Philpott because she is leading the primary care plan for the province of Ontario. And that's proceeding along. And I just went in last night and I've now sent it on to the rest of you in council, what they're doing at the provincial level. And it's laid out. She is a get things done. Here's the steps. Let's go person. And in particular, it does have in there that 80 new sites are going to be selected. So I think it behooves us to work with our neighbors in Northumberland County to support in any way, shape, or form sites here being selected in Northumberland. I am somewhat hopeful because our OHP was one of the first that was established in Ontario. So we are already a little bit ahead of some other jurisdictions. So I would be very interested in hearing from Andrea and Dr. Fraser on how lower tier municipalities can support what they're doing, because I do think there's some significant changes in how those frontline are going to be delivered.
Thank you, Mary Catherine. Good report. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through your Mayor Lobo, I see here that Andrea Groff, her title is Executive Lead of the Ontario Health Team of Northumberland. Mayor Lobo, could you just explain to me the rationale why the county council decided to do this? So would it be that they would take the lead and not work with anybody else, or would they be working with the Ontario Health Team?
I'm going to give you my impression of what was
Thank you.
decided at that meeting. That was decided that the recommendation was that the county get involved directly and county be responsible and hire someone for a maximum of 2 year, for a 2-year term as a trial to get primary care, specifically primary care going. And not so much the hospital itself, but the primary care, which gives you family physicians. And that was approved by council. I cannot say for sure whether they're going to work with Ontario Health Team or not. I would hope they would, but I can't say that for sure.
Would it have been the opinion of the councillors around the horseshoe that they would be more effective, their model, as opposed to this model? I'm just looking at the rationale why the county felt the need. Did they not think that what was being done was not adequate?
It's been a long, slow process. And when Mary Catherine's right, when we were presented with Larry and I believe Linda, there was a plan there, and those two, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know where Larry stands on it, but
Actually, Randy, Larry's also on the committee, but it was Randy.
Randy, yeah. Linda's no longer there, and so they're working without an executive director, I guess.
Andrea Groff is the executive lead.
From where?
She's Ontario Health Team.
No, I'm talking about the
Physician recruitment.
physician recruitment position, or yeah, this group. So I don't, go ahead, Mary Catherine, you have a comment?
Yeah, so Linda gave her notice of her resignation in December. And so the board has just sort of been doing some temporary things because we didn't see any point of trying to proceed with hiring someone when we knew that this spring there was going to be a coordinated person. So we didn't think hiring for 3 or 4 months made sense.
And I will make one more comment. This letter did not come to council till this term. I think some other members of the council had already seen county council had already seen this letter.
This was May 2nd.
Yeah. Which was just before their meetings. And I do know that Hamilton Township, we're going to have a presentation by the doctor and the lead. So I think what Mary Catherine is asking is that we have those people come in and do a presentation. Correct?
Yes, it is, and I will add further that Andrea has been trained and worked already with this primary care initiative from the province. So she's going to be able to speak to that and answer any questions that we have on that piece of it. Whereas I think Dr. James Cameron is, or sorry, Fraser Cameron, he's more going to be providing some local background and perspective.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
After you, Mayor, I guess I just have some concerns and maybe some clarification. So if the county's gonna take this over, is this other community still going to run in the background, or are we still going to support it?
Mary Catherine?
My apologies, I had intended to include that in. No, so the plan all the way along, if you look back to the presentation in September, is once there was a decision made about where the recruiter fell, it would then follow that we would begin dissolution process. So what that actually ends up looking like, what's the governance model and the financing model, those are the questions that are very live right now. And where those new ones are. So that's another thing that was part of the TMU process, was to make recommendations on how to do the funding and the governance. So I have not seen those pieces of what they've reported. And I know that there was a second part that the county did in terms of a new body that would be, and so they're awaiting a report. So the report may well include that information. But yes, we, as a board, that was the plan, that we would dissolve once this new entity is formed.
And it is a little bit different than, because not all members of our current position recruitment are part of the, well, all of them are, but county council is not represented by all of those individuals. I think it's Hamilton, Port Hope, Cobourg, and Grammy. And Grammy has stepped back about a year ago or some time ago, I understand. And we were out and then we got back in, as you recall. After Randy, after Randy and Linda made their presentation, we got back in. So go ahead, Mary Catherine.
Right, and it will be a process because it's essentially bringing 5 groups together in this new organization. So you've got the recruiting from Brighton area, recruiting from Trent Hills, and the recruiter there was a joint position between the hospital and the community. The hospital recruitment, and obviously they're still going to have their recruitment for, because there's lots and lots of positions beyond primary care. But there will be some overlap because that is often something that primary care doctors are looking for, is hospital privileges. So they still would be involved in that piece of it. And then our group, which was the remaining 5 municipalities, Grammy right at the moment is in no group, but that's only as of January 1st.
Okay, so do you want to do anything with this? Go ahead.
And that we invite Andrea Goff and Dr.
To
make a presentation to us.
That's your motion?
Yeah.
Okay,
So receive for information and extend an invitation.
no, that's it. We've already accepted them as we see proclamation.
Well, then I'll make that as a standalone motion. Thank you.
I just,
Seconder?
well, I was just wondering, would it muddy the waters too much to have someone from the county come in and explain their part in this as well, so we would get the whole picture?
I need a seconder before we can go to that.
Okay, a second.
Okay, seconded by, Joan. Deputy Mayor, sorry. And do you want to amend?
If I may, I'd like just to have the whole package so we are aware of what the county is doing as well. Will they be able to marry with this? Or would that be too much for one session?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the county is. So it may be hard to get them to get together at the same session. Because with the county, they were just instructed to hire a couple people, so they don't know exactly what the, I don't know if they know what's gonna eventually evolve. They're gonna probably decide who they're gonna work with and that type of stuff. But that certainly hasn't been decided.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll just leave it as the motion stands.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, the next one is does anybody want to talk about the letter from the MMAH? Bill, I believe it's regarding Bill 17. And that had a lot of different things, but I think we should just receive and file. Okay, everybody happy with that? Sounds like it. Number 15.4 is Mattawa, opposition to strong mayor powers. I think the council decided, considered this a couple of years ago when it was first brought out. And at that time, it was decided that council would not support something like that. Since then, that was when there was about, I don't know, they started off with half a dozen, was there, or something like that, half a dozen municipalities across Ontario. They've added about a year ago or more recently, they added another 50 or something. I'm just picking numbers because I'm not exactly sure.
They have 169.
Yeah, and this time there's 169 added. So you're getting up to, of the 444, you're probably about half of them. Well, there's 169 plus the other ones, Joan,
Oh, okay.
the other two. So I think you're pretty well 200 or somewhere in that, maybe even more than 200. So, Mayor Catherine?
I mean, I continue to have concerns about what it means that democracy, but I also have concerns that this act isn't achieving what it says it's to achieve, because these new powers, and we've actually had a reduction in new housing projects, not the other way around. So I know that this is the first that any of the Northumberland mayors have had it, and Bob Crace from Hills that said not interested at all. Alana from Port Hope, I believe, has said, I want to continue working with my council. I haven't seen a statement from the other two at this point, but they may be out there and I just haven't seen them. But I do have concerns that this is eroding the involvement of councils.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
To you, Mayor, I have a little bit of different view of it. I look at our council and our staff as a corporation. So if I was the CEO of a corporation, I needed to get something done. And staff and council cannot make a decision on what to do. Someone has to. Not to say you can just override council at every meeting and staff at every meeting, but there has to be a point where someone says, get it done. So that would be my view of it. If Ottawa wants to back, or if Mattawa wants to back out of it, that's their issue. Somebody else wants to back out of it, but I think until we're granted it, we need to have that discussion ourselves.
They have, to say back out, they're just not going to use those privileges that they have. They can't really back out because they can't really get in unless they're approved to start with. So I don't think that you can really say that, what I'm going to say a different way. If they have the power and they agree to use it, then that's what's there. If they don't have the power and they decide to use it, doesn't matter. So but, you know, there's different, and there is different opinions on it for sure. And to answer your question, I'm positive that, the Brighton, mayor decided that he would work, his goal was to work with his team. And it doesn't mean every decision, I don't, from my understanding, it doesn't mean everything is just a few things. Some things, I should say. Mary Catherine?
I'm still confused by your position, Councillor Ainsworth. So if we at this table had made a decision and then the mayor and CAO didn't like the decision that was made by the majority of people on the council, and they chose to go ahead with something that the majority of people on council had said they didn't want, is that direction we want to go as a municipality?
I'm just saying that council has the opportunity to divert anything that they think that is right. Compared to maybe what the staff report is, compared to what the mayor says, compared to what the public says. So I'm just saying that there's an option there. Because we know how sometimes council works, in just in general throughout Ontario. So I'm saying that the mayor powers would be an option that we shouldn't just exclude. You
Thank
can
you.
think different, that's my opinion.
Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. With granting granting the mayor the power to override decisions of the horseshoe. With that, there is always a way to level things out. With that, I haven't studied at all, I must say, the strong mayor powers that has been granted to Alma Calderman. At that time, I would really delve into it. I'm sure there's a lot more parameters that we are not aware of. I too have concern that a mayor would have the power to override. That being said, I would hope the mayor would listen to the councillors at the time and take that in. Because I think with these strong mayor powers, there's going to be a lot of concern with other councillors. But there also has to be a trust in the mayor as well. And with that trust comes a certain amount of decision-making that the mayor would have to take into consideration. So it's getting into new territory for sure.
And territory that we're not involved in.
It's not an
Up to
option
state
for
laws.
us.
Mayor Catherine?
But I mean, when I'm reading this, and I have read some articles about senior staff who can be appointed or removed at the whim of a mayor, that's different than what's happening right now. And that budget is set by the mayor rather than through council. And I agree to something that it's easier if you don't have to get agreement for everyone and you can just bulldoze ahead on whatever you think is the right thing to do, but that's not the basis of how decision-making is made. Yeah, government speed is super slow, but it's also because democracy is worth the process and making sure that it's a open system is important, and an accountable system.
Thank you, Mary Catherine. So we're going to receive your information, move on. Okay, the next one is Northumberland County Food Policy Council, Bill 5 opposition statement. And Bill 5 is more to do with several things now. Expanding the infrastructure, et cetera, and perhaps from what I was reading of it, gives the government certain powers to overpass planning and other different things. Now, this letter was a little bit more specific, as I recall, and it dealt more with food policies and protecting farmland and that type of stuff. You want to receive it or do you want to carry on? Go ahead.
To you, Mayor. So I don't agree with. Although Bill 5 is like, you know, the big interpretation. But I think it's to the point where, you know, the province wants to get houses built and they're gonna, if they have to take it into their own hands. So this is like the third time that they did something like this, or fourth time among the change to the provincial policy statement, because municipalities are cutting the tape. And this has been my argument a few times, is that we're throwing more red tape to get development done and to get surveys done. And some of them, I don't know how many we just turned down for whatever reason. So I don't know how many times that the province has to come out and say something like, to get it done, or we're gonna get it done for you. And this is one of those bills. I don't agree with somebody else putting our name on a letter until we've had time to go through it and make our own decision about it. So this one here from the Montgomery County Food Policy Council, I would have liked to see that pass the council to say, hey, this is what we're thinking, what do you think?
Okay. Thank you. It hasn't gone through any place yet.
That's what I mean.
Okay,
So that's
so
what I
it
think.
hasn't moved. This is just a thought or a recommendation. Okay, we can agree to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor?
Just some information I received, Bill 5 and Bill 17 received royal assent last Friday, so it's more or less redundant. It's already passed. So go.
Mayor Cosby, you have a comment?
I think in principle, this is something as a municipality and certainly our residents want, is protecting the farmland and protection of the food. I would like, there's no rush, as you rightly pointed out, they passed it and then went and left for 4 months, so there's not going to be any change in the coming 4 months. I would like to gather a bit more information, especially from our local Federation of Agriculture, if they put out a statement and we put it together with this one we have in front of us. I think those are the kinds of things to reach out to our local organizations for their input.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Just one final thought on this, where we're all being really concerned about the amount of agricultural land that's being gobbled up. And we also know the restrictions when we try to go against the policies and the fear of, as we had already approved a lot that was in an agricultural area and ramifications of that. So, I mean, it's all very well for the government to come up with these bills, this Bill 5 in one situation, but the policy statements are already ingrained. So it's, sometimes I just sit back and wonder, what direction are we gonna go? Because unless you're in the hamlets and you have agricultural land, it's very difficult to get any kind of land. So it's just a comment more than anything else, Mayor Riggle. Thank you.
I guess one comment that I think of and continue to hear, and people want to, as you said, agricultural land is not necessarily prime agricultural land. And the province with the Planning Act and ours too says if it's agricultural land, zoned agricultural, et cetera, it's agricultural and stay out of it. If it's rural and non prime agricultural, then it's rural, and there are exceptions that allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And everybody has different thoughts on it. Go ahead, Mike.
Just a comment again, Mayor. So with all this stuff that's been going on with the rest of policy state and these other bills, should it be time that we get our official plan brought to us and start working? I don't know if there's anything that started on. I know we talked about.
I don't know if it's been started or not. I expect it'll come up with an update of our strategic plan, which I believe that was part of it. So it will be coming to council fairly soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Any final comments? We'll move on to 16.1, which is a motion to move into a closed session. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allenwood, Haldeman, and act as follows. At the regular council meeting of June 10th, 2025, move into a closed session under Municipal Act, Section 239, 2B, regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And today we're going to be discussing the 2025 Civic Award nominations. And do you have to transfer to closed so we can do that?
Yeah, we need a motion first.
Need a motion to move into closed, moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? That's carried.